Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Man, Big Problems podcast. My name is Julio, and Big Man, Big Problems podcast is a podcast I created to talk about the problems of being a big man or big woman, as it may. This is not just about weight and weight loss. This is really a podcast to talk about life. And in my first episode, I touched a little bit on fashion. Okay. I mean, that's a scary word to a lot of people our size, but I talked a little bit about how I handle it. And I thought today would be a wonderful time to expand on that. And so I brought in someone to help us, a bit of a pro. His name is Brandon Ellis. So welcome, Brandon Ellis.
I got it. Hi.
So Brandon has spent a lot of years in apparel and in clothing and whatnot, and he calls himself a style mentalist. And I truly have no idea what that means. You want to maybe expand on what you think a style mentalist is?
Yeah, and Julio, thanks for having me. Like you said, have been in apparel and fashion and style and clothing, all things clothing. But a style mentalist is a person who takes it beyond just what you put on. It's how
Mhm.
you feel, it's how you think, it's how you want people to see and feel with you around the room by the clothes you wear, how you express, because clothes are expressions. So that's why I say style mentalist.
That's actually perfect because everything you just said is everything guys like me fear completely,
Yeah.
right? So why am I doing this episode? So, people who know me know that I am somebody who knows every movie line in every movie quote, every TV show. I couldn't remember somebody who I talked to yesterday. I couldn't remember their name. But if you give me a quote from a 1967 film, I'll tell you what film it is. And so as soon as I hear about fashion or what it makes you feel like, it takes me right back to a movie from the late 80s called Joe versus the Volcano. And in this movie, Joe had to go clothes shopping. So he gets a limo and he has an unlimited expense account for this. And his limo driver is an actor, Ozzie Davis. Okay. So as he's traveling, Ozzie Davis says, "What would you like to do today?" He says, "Well, I need to buy some clothes." And Ozzie Davis says, "Well, where would you like to go?" He goes, "I don't know. Where would you want to go?" And he goes, "Well, what do you need to buy?" He goes, "I don't know what clothes I want. What clothes do you think?" And Ozzie Davis said, "What are you asking me?" He says, "I'm asking you what clothes I should buy." He goes, "Well, what you're asking me is who are you?" Because in his belief and in my belief, the clothes make the man. And really what he's asking him is, who am I as a man? And Avi Davis says, "Well, I've been trying to figure out who I am my whole life. I don't have time to figure out who you are." So that's the way I see clothes. And that's the way I've always seen clothes.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about that. And then at the end, Brandon has some questions for me that he says are going to enlighten the audience about me a little bit, or some questions he might have to go a little deeper because he's watched the podcast. So stick around for that because generally that brings some fireworks. Okay.
And I love a good firework.
So, what's the purpose of, and I know Brandon hates the word fashion.
I do.
Yeah, but I don't know a better word to use because I'm just a simple man.
Well, hey, a simple man. But I think it's important that we have been trained and methodical about using that word to describe our sense of selves. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a fashionable person. Are you? Because we've seen a lot of people walking around being like, no, that's not fashionable. But we also seen people out there saying, oh my God, you're really stylish.
Okay.
Or,
So that's what I'm gonna ask you is, like, is style a better word? Like, does everyone have their own style?
yeah, because here's my definition. I would say this: fashion is what you follow,
Mhm.
style is what you choose.
Okay, that I can completely follow. So this is the way I see it in my world. Is I think that when it comes to a big person trying to dress themselves,
Okay.
I think people like me fall into three different categories. Okay. I think people fall into the, hey, I'm going to dress as loud as possible. I'm going to wear the Hawaiian shirt. I'm going to wear the mismatched pants outfit. I'm going to wear the holiday sweater, but I might do that more than one time a year.
Yeah.
And I think what they're doing there is they're saying, hey, pay attention to this circus around me and don't pay attention to what's inside of it. And then similarly, you have somebody who wants to almost be ignored, right? So somebody who wears a lot of dark tones, gray tones, somebody who wears clothes that are not form fitted so you don't see their form. And I feel like they want to blend into the background.
Okay.
And then there's guys like me who feel like their size isn't going to make their style is going to be them. And I try to, at my best, I try to buy clothes that fit properly, that look appropriate for the occasion I'm in. Like, I'm not gonna wear shorts to a wedding,
Okay.
okay?
Right.
But people have.
I mean, if it's a destination wedding, sure, dress for the occasion. But
Yeah,
I think in as we can go through that thought, there's three things that you called out that I want to make sure people and even you recognize.
okay.
You took the opportunity to say to yourself, I want this when I put clothes on. I want these things for my look and how I feel in these clothes. And when you talked about those people who had different recognitions, some people don't like doing the work, and some people do like doing the work. And it goes with all shapes and sizes because sometimes it is as simple as saying, where can I go to get what I need and what I want versus does it just fit? Because I'll just put it on if it fits. Because a lot of people just do that, especially men. Men, we all shop by the mannequin. Traditionally, it used to be like that. Now I feel like
Mhm,
I think ever since like I'm gonna be a little stereotypical. Ever since Queer Eye came out, we had the metrosexual, we had all those fucking people
mhm.
and things like that. But I would say this: men have become more confident to decide.
Do you think it's slightly generational? Because a child of the '80s, as I like to say,
Yeah,
and metrosexual was a thing in the '80s. Like,
yeah.
I was the '80s kid who wore the pink shirt, pink belt, white pants, pink socks, white shoes, okay?
Mhm.
And I don't think that has ever left me. So is it generational? Are the what do they call them? The boomers? Are the boomers the ones that wear the loud shirts? Are the Gen Xers like me a little more metro? And are the millennials maybe a little more grunge and they're the ones that dress down a little bit?
So that's when we really play with style and fashion. Which one are you following? You've chosen to stay with following your style. Your
Mm.
style has been a style of that child of the 80s.
I think that's why I still have this haircut.
I mean, we can talk about that all. But I think it's important for people to really recognize that same dichotomy. It's like, wait a second, am I following my true passions of how I love when I got to decide to put on clothes or to buy clothes or invest in my wardrobe or my look, you said, no, I love my pink shirt and I love my jeans and I love my white sneakers. I don't care if I saw a million Gap ads or a million magazine ads of everything other than that. I'm still going to wear my pink shirt. Just like me, I'm going to wear boots no matter what time of season it is. Boots are just where I go to. That's just how I'm going to roll it. It could be fucking June and I'm going to wear a boot.
Mm,
But I've chosen that style, which is why style is what you choose, fashion is what you follow. So each of those generations all have followed into two demographics. Either I'm following the trend, I'm the sheep of my seams,
mhm,
or I'm the selector of my style.
mhm.
Because that's just how it goes. Like think about it, my generation, we had the Dickies, the Pacific Sunwear baggy jeans and the grunge looks, like you said. And I was like, I can do that or I can do this. But I wanted to make sure I felt myself in all of it.
You know, it's funny we talk about generations because you said Dickies, you mean an actual name brand of clothing.
Yeah.
When you say Dickies in my generation, you know what that means?
Well,
That turtleneck thing that cousin Eddie wore in Christmas Vacation under his shirt.
I'm
It's
gonna
a
get
it's
there,
a
but
fake
we just
it's
saw
a
how old
fake
I am.
turtleneck. It's actually called the Dickie.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So, okay, so maybe it is not generational.
no.
Maybe it's perception of
Mhm.
what you think you deserve as a person to look like. Because the interesting thing about being a big person, and this is where I bring on the insight as far as how I feel or how I felt, is you don't always feel like you deserve the fashion. You don't always feel like if you wear that pretty pink dress, to the company party that you deserve to be that person, because there's always that skinny girl, that always fit girl that looks so wonderful,
Mhm.
right? And this is something that happens in the world. This is not something I've always believed in,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So when you say, like I said in the beginning of this, that the clothes make the man,
Mhm.
what I feel like that's really saying is what you wear on the outside shows people how you feel on the inside. And how you feel on the inside shows, right? It's no different than like cooking. Like some people are good cooks and some people are bad cooks. And what you will notice is people who don't like to cook, their food just doesn't taste as good.
Because they don't because there's no intent. It's just like food is to be eaten. I have to eat food to live.
1,000%. And it's the same thing when you dress. So when you get dressed and you go to work,
Mm.
what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say, I'm walking in and I'm the boss? Are you trying to say, I'm walking in and I'm just happy to have a job? Please don't notice me or talk
Or
to
am I
me.
following dress code? Like, a lot of it I mean, I used to when I used to work in specific areas where, like, there was a strict dress code, it's always funny, the guy's version of his dress code versus the lady's version of their dress code, it was very limited. It was a button-up and pants. The girl or the woman side, blouse and skirt and things like that. I think I think to the point where we're talking about that whole concept of, like, what people want my question is always this: "What do you want people to see?" Not, "What do I wanna feel like?" Because it depends on certain things. When you go to work or the dress codes that are instilled in those companies, everybody has a look, everyone has
Yeah,
a message, everyone
yeah,
has, like, a theme, but when it comes to your personal style,
yeah.
I feel like there's certain, discomforts that people automatically fall to because of fashion or because of social constructs of what they see in the media or what you're told by other people's negative opinions about what they think.
Okay, I think that has a lot more to do with it. I think when someone gets dressed, right,
Yeah.
they look in the mirror and they look for what are the flags to show I'm fat, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell everybody, okay? I'm going to lay a truth on the line for all you big people out there. It doesn't go away. You can't hide it, okay? You're a big person. When you walk down the street, people see a big person, okay?
Mhm.
But do they just see a big person or do they see a well-dressed, confident individual walking down the street? And I think that's what shows. Do they see like someone who's saying, "Don't pay attention to me"? Do they see somebody who's saying, "Pay too much attention to me"? Or are they just seeing somebody who, when they look at them, do they just see a well-dressed individual?
So I'm going to challenge that thought process because think
Challenge.
of it this way two ways. I could care less what size you were because I have seen people in all different statements and statuses, even down to look and size, being like, "What are you trying to tell me? Or what are you trying to show me based off what you put on your body?" And it's going to be in two ways because A, I think as me as a style mentalist and me as a person who's worked with style, been a visual merchandiser, all those kind of things, getting people to understand how to use clothes to do whatever they want them to have happen in their lives.
Mhm.
It's as simple as this is I'm going to tell how comfortable you are with yourself by how comfortable you seem to be in your clothing. If you're that person who's like fidgeting and constantly messing with the this,
Pulling.
I know that you're uncomfortable with being seen.
Yeah, well, we're pullers. But here's where the when I say pullers, I'm gonna explain this to
I
you,
think I know what
and
pullers
I'm
mean,
gonna
but
explain to most
tell
people,
everybody.
but anybody who's my size know what pulling is. Pulling is when you have a shirt on or a sweater on, and what you can't feel is it tight, right? So they're gonna pull on everything. They're gonna pull on their sweater. They're gonna pull on their shirt to get it to loosen up a little bit,
Mhm,
right? Because now I'm gonna speak on it personally. Personally, I struggle with wearing anything
mhm.
that I feel is binding. Right? In other
Okay,
words, like here, if you're a I'm gonna say regular size individual, what
okay.
is, the acceptable norm of what a normal toned body is. If something is form fitting, you like it because what that's doing is just showing off your shape, right? Anything that's form fitting on me, I'm like, this is just exposing.
So that
every piece of me that I don't want
and as
people
a
to
style
see.
mentalist, I literally want to take that crap away because guess
See,
what?
that's the thing. That's the rub. That's the hardest thing in my life I've had to get over.
Yes, because guess what? Clothing is designed to fit, to move, to create form and shapes. It has nothing to do with necessarily body type unless you have a tailor. Then you are specifically saying, hide this, show this, cut here, seam here, da 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 da. It's literally about understanding the dynamics of how the eye travels when you're wearing a garment.
In the last 10 years of my life,
Yeah.
okay, and it's been a tumultuous 10 years of my life coming off the show. What the heck is it now? 16 years ago,
Yeah.
coming off of the show, and I'm not gonna get into what it was like for me the first few years after that because that's a lot. But, okay, the last 10 years where I've been larger,
Okay.
okay, I have I will tell you, the only time I think I have worn pants with a tucked in shirt and nothing over it, and this is only halfway, was my daughter's wedding, where I actually went because and here, this is how much it meant to me, okay? I did not go to the store and rent a tuxedo because renting a tuxedo for a man my size is ridiculous, okay? The best they could do is make me look like like the box that they cover a
A box
refrigerator.
penguin.
It's
Yeah.
terrible. But did you know that for not too much more, when you go to the right store, and I love the store, they will tailor make you a tuxedo.
Key thing, what you just said there. Tailor.
Tailor. So I wore a tuxedo.
Mhm.
I did not have a cummerbund. I did not have a vest. I had
Right.
a jacket,
Mhm.
but I was not uncomfortable taking off my jacket because the shirt and the pants was tailor made for me. And I walked in with confidence.
Guess why? Because there's 2 things you did there.
Mhm.
1, you got a tailor.
Yeah.
2, you made sure the clothes fit comfortably so that way you yourself can stand in just your embodiment of confidence.
Yeah. And I'm not saying go out and get all your clothes tailor made because
No, I'm gonna
that's
stop you.
ridiculous. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. That is
Yeah.
incorrect advice. I am saying go get it tailored
Yeah.
because to prevent the world of pulling, go get it to fit. You deserve that. Every person deserves for their clothes to fit.
But you get the pulling isn't just because the clothes
But
doesn't
that's up
fit.
here.
Yeah.
That's up here.
Yeah. Here, let me tell you another difference.
Okay.
Okay. And again, guys, I'm doing this because I'm laying it out there. I'm saying the stuff that you would not tell your best friend or your mother. Okay. So
Unless they were me.
when you're standing,
Yeah,
our clothes fit one way.
true.
When we sit down, they fit a different way.
So guess what? Nobody really I've seen this happen in a lot.
And by the way, we're big people, so we sit a lot.
True. But did you and this is something that I want everyone to recognize in realities of clothing and shopping for your own style and
Mhm.
rules to follow for yourself. There's no preset of rules. There's like tons of manuals, blah blah blah, whatever.
Mhm.
But I say this. Just like there's something that I like to call the sit down test when
Yeah.
you're buying pants.
Yeah.
I don't care how big, small you are. There's a sit down test. If you were buying some clothes and you were worried about how they fit or pants, sit down.
Yeah.
If and I could do it with jeans. Denim is the one thing that I've saved so many people from looking what I call trapezoid butt, diaper butt, or whatever else like that.
Yeah. Instead of denim, can we just call that the fat man's kryptonite?
Okay, it's not the fat man's kryptonite. Let me be clear. And for my guys out there, denim is not a kryptonite. Most people don't know how to really pay attention to how it works. That fabric, especially now with all the stretch and all this and the 2% here and the 3% elastine, is knowing how it performs. Denim naturally wears the size up every time you wear it. We've all done it, and I'm sure you've done it. You bought a pair of jeans, right?
Mhm.
You buy the size you know that you like, I'm always this size. This is my number. You wear it twice, and you feel like you should just go be in a Slim Fast commercial because you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God. So that's because denim naturally wears a full or half a size up, no matter what you do.
Yeah,
So when you're shopping,
then it stretches.
correct. So when you're shopping for denim,
Mhm.
you either shop down the size of your number because you're going to naturally wear it up after one wear to the size where it fits.
Mhm.
And I tell my women this, and then sometimes I tell my men, like, whether most of my gay men, I need y'all to pay attention to this too. All the men who want to show off the legs and the butt and whatever the curve, it's literally, I call it the smile. If you're when you're wearing your jeans, depending on the fit, slim, this is more important. But your butt has to smile. If your butt's not smiling, it's unhappy. Like
Yeah.
Women definitely need to pay attention to the rules because I've seen so many women be like, "Why her jeans look like that?" Because her butt's not happy, her butt's not smiling.
Yeah, well, big men don't have a butt, they have a crack at the bottom of their back. It's
But
it's
see,
a little
but see,
different
as a style
thing.
see, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Like as a style mentalist, it's like you have told yourself that you don't deserve to say or feel or even execute those realities.
Yeah,
You have a butt.
yeah.
We all have a butt.
Well, I mean, medically speaking.
No, it's not a thing.
Alright, so
Yeah.
now there like in everything in life here, there's a balance,
Yes.
okay? So, listen, I'm a big guy, okay?
Mhm.
I weigh twice as much as the average, male out there,
Sure.
and my size is much larger, and, I'm kidding myself to say that I can go out and wear anything because I really can't. I can wear similar things, but I have to find things that work, and that's a lot of trial and error in doing that thing. What I'm really talking about is the choice to do it, okay?
Yes.
Because do
Mhm.
I lay back and I wanna be a clown? Do I lay back and I wanna disappear? Or do I just wanna be like every other person? Because see, that's the thing with us folk, okay?
Mhm.
That's a weird thing to say. I feel like that's odd to say it in that way.
It's not
But it's a
odd,
but
but
it's a
that's the
but
programming.
yeah, when I was on the show and they were going around the table interviewing us, they were saying like, "Why do you wanna do this? Why do you wanna do this?" And we had people saying, "Oh, I want to be able to run a marathon. Oh, I want to be able to, you know, run up the stairs or play with my kids." I go, you know what? I want to be able to just go into a store and buy a pair of pants and they fit. Like I want to be like everybody else, right? But
Mhm.
at this point, at this moment of my life, I'm not. But that doesn't mean that I can't dress like them because it's available to us. So,
And I this is why I call myself a style mentalist, because it's literally that kind of programming that I want, and I choose to let people say, "Look, enough's enough." I've worked in the apparel industry. I've worked right? One of my companies I work with is we build brands, and we help you design,
mhm,
customize, and edit, and we do all the fitting for you.
mhm,
It's the reality of saying, "How do I want this to perform?" And a lot of consumers and a lot of businesses out there right now are catering to that reality. Not everyone's going to be a size 6, just like if you shop at Calvin versus H&M versus American Eagle, they all have different sizing because of their fit ratios and their fit blocks.
mhm,
I'm this size here and I'm this size there. That has nothing to do with your size. It has
mhm,
everything to do with that company decided is their fit for their brand.
mhm,
So when you're shopping, recognize your measurements. I always say this: know your skeleton, understand your seam allowance, and understand your fit. Because just like you said, I don't feel like I deserve because they don't make it in my size. Just like I know I damn well I'm not going to walk around here in lime green thinking I look like the coolest thing in the world. And I can be the smallest thing and built everywhere, but I look terrible in those colors.
mhm.
It's the same reality about being a man of your size. It's like you could if I made every garment that you said, "I want that in my color, I want that have available to that," and you put it on and be like, "You look like you're getting adopted." I'm going to tell you and be like, "This is just because it's in your size doesn't mean that it's for your style."
Yeah. So there are avenues that are harder to get over, and a lot of
Mhm.
this is a self-consciousness. And, I'm a study in how to get over those things.
Yeah.
So where I was going before with the tucked in shirt. So how do I get over that? I just don't tuck in my damn shirt. And if I tuck in a shirt, you know what I do? I'll wear something over it like a sweater or something. Like, in my first episode, I talked a lot about my uniform at work. All
Mhm.
right. So I'm not comfortable wearing a suit jacket
Okay.
because I don't like the way it looks on me. Okay.
Why is that?
Because I don't like the form it gives me. I don't like the boxiness of it because it's not tailored, but you can't tailor everything. But
You can.
but here's the thing: when you wear a suit jacket, it's restrictive, especially in a guy our size. We find it very restrictive, which is why, by the way, a lot of big people don't wear a coat when they drive because it's very, very restrictive. It's just the way our body and the coat is structured. What I do, and I'd also don't like to just to wear a shirt with a pair of pants or a tie because I feel like that doesn't look dressy enough for me at work. So what do I do at work? I wear a sweater or a sweater vest.
Mhm.
Okay. And they joke about it with me because it's almost like my uniform,
Yeah.
right? I wear
But
a
that's your
shirt,
style. But the thing is,
it's
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 that
my style.
it's your style.
Yeah.
And that's what I love and that's what I hope people recognize is that the perception of other people's into your wardrobe, into your closet
Mhm,
has nothing to do with how you want to feel in your clothing.
mhm.
And the key thing to recognize is this is like, I always say this to people what you see and what I see, let's say, as a stylist or as a style mentalist, and as a person who's like, I've been around clothing a long time, but I'm also that person who's like, what you're telling yourself looks terrible. I'm telling you, it doesn't.
Okay, that I've experienced that. You know who's number 1 for that, is my wife.
Yeah.
So my wife will see me dressed in, like, a suit or a shirt and tie, she goes, "Oh, you look great."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I" but here's the thing, there has to be a balance in the fact that other people look great, but the bigger problem is I have to feel good in it too. And that is, regardless of what you say to me as a stylist,
Mhm.
that is equally, if not slightly above, more important because, like we talked about cooking, if you don't love what you're cooking, if you're not feeling it, it's not going to taste good. If I'm not having that confidence inside me come out,
Mhm.
because you know what? If I'm a super confident person and I in my heart and my soul feel like, you know what, I'm big, whatever, I look great. I could wear a burlap sack and show that walking down the street.
And guess what? And I just found this out, and I just understood a very great definition of confidence. And was listening to Cody Sanchez's podcast, and I heard her get the information of like being confident is just being comfortable with failure.
Okay, I can agree with that.
So, in the same sentence of like you saying, "This is why I don't feel confident in a suit,"
Yeah.
is like, well, how many suits have you worn in your life?
Okay. You just brought me full circle
Yeah.
to why I'm doing this podcast because most of us, because we're big, already feel like we failed at some level. And there's where the confidence gets drained.
Correct. And then that confidence seeps in like this mutation of mentality of like, you don't deserve
Mhm.
to understand that you can have a suit.
Yeah.
You can find what you want and be confident in it because that's what the fashion and that's what the apparel and the fashion and the fabric, all these people that spend all this time in developing fabrics and fibers and all this kind of stuff. We have heard and listened and recognized that these are the pain points of every demographic. But sometimes that confidence limits you from saying, I can be conscious in how I do it because I could find you a suit in the right fabric that isn't going to make you feel boxy. I can find a suit that's going to make you seem like, okay, this is a suit on the outside, but the fabric feels good. I don't feel like I got to fidget with it. I'm avoiding the pulling. I mean, I was watching a football game and I'm not a football person at all, just so we were clear. I watch it because I have to play the game with everybody else.
You
But
have to leave now.
that's fine. But I saw this very bulky big guy, and I could tell, and it was a panel of 5 of them. And I was like, those 2 got their suits tailored. The rest of them bought their suits somewhere else because they paid attention because they had big arms. Their body was not the same mass manufacturing grading scale to their things, but they looked 3,000,000. They were the biggest guys on the screen, but they looked 3,000,000 times more confident because they knew that
Mhm.
suit fit.
So let me say this to my friends out there who are big people. Because of things you've heard in your life, be it your spouse, be it your parents, which are a big factor, be it your best friends, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts and uncles, throughout your whole life, all they kept saying to you is, "Oh, you're so pretty. If you only lost the weight." And that deteriorates your confidence. Just know moving forward, you deserve all of this. You deserve the ability to dress and look as nice as anyone else. Let your confidence shine. But the points you bring up bring us to the next phase of this.
Mm.
Okay. All right, Julio, we understand, right? Brandon speaks eloquently of what you deserve, but how do I do it? Like what's the next step? Where do I go? What do I do?
So what I would normally do, and this is when I would like, let's say I'm working with you in person,
Mhm.
and we first would do a closet audit because everybody has essentials.
Oh god, I would rather put a toothpick in between my big toe and my second toe than let you walk in my
I'm
closet.
still gonna make you do it. Um, because what I always and I used to always do this with people, and I would be like, A, you're gonna cry and you're gonna whine and you're gonna bitch and moan, and guess what? You're still gonna put it on.
Mhm.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Because what I'm trying to get you to also break is that mirror mentality of how you see yourself.
yeah.
Because I want you to recognize by me, I'm not gonna just tell you you deserve it. I'm gonna make you see that you've earned it.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
And to that same point is I'm gonna also say, just because you don't think you belong in the room doesn't mean that you don't have a seat at the table. And people all, especially in this case, don't believe just because all you see in reality, all the social constructs, all the media that's being thrown in your face is saying, that's not my size.
You know,
That's not made for me.
it took me I'm 56 years old,
Mhm,
and it took me almost all of those years.
mhm,
It took me losing all the weight and gaining the weight. It took me being in the public eye,
mhm,
right? It took a lot for me to get to the point where I felt, you know what? Now, I'm not gonna say it's gone away 100%
right.
because that would be a lie. But it took me till then to say, you know what? When I walk in the room, people see a confident person. When I walk in the room, people see a guy who took a minute to figure out what he was gonna wear
Ah,
today
there it is.
and looks great.
But it's right there. Guess what you did?
Took a minute.
You took a minute, but you
Mhm.
also said, I'm a confident guy.
100%.
I'm a guy who came in a room.
Yeah.
Like for me, as a guy who's not at that size and who's
Yeah.
never been at that size, I even now still struggle with going into rooms and being like, do I belong here?
Yeah.
So it's not so much about what I've always put on my back, but sometimes when I'm like, I have to go into a meeting with a bunch of people that I know I'm gonna get resistance from. I'm
Right.
gonna need to wear something that I know is gonna command the room because I understand the psychology of certain things around color.
But
And we can get into that later, but
what you put on your back is your first impression.
sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, I love this test that I do with people. So think about, and I think everybody should think about this, like, think about a time where you went into a situation where you were brand new, nobody really knew you, but you knew one person, but you wore black. And the setting was like, I need to mingle,
Yeah, that's never happened. I've never walked into a room wearing all black.
unless it was a funeral. Um, but you think about how people like think about the time where how much resistance, how much harder, because once I started talking
Oh,
and
you disappear.
you disappear, but
Yeah.
then when you start talking, everyone's like, oh my God, have you talked to Julio?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, but think about if you wore a red suit or a blue suit or a specific color of blue suit, and then like everyone's like, "Who's that guy?"
So, I had a friend when my best friend got married,
Yeah,
right? Another friend I grew up with, his father came to the wedding, and now mind you, this was 32 years ago,
yeah,
wore a teal suit.
hmm
Now that gentleman whom I love passed away this year, and at his memorial, they brought up the teal suit.
hmm
So, when you do something like that, it becomes you in some odd way, and that's what I'm talking about. It was so eye-catching
yeah.
that now he was tagged with this teal suit for the last 32 years.
And that's what I like to call statement pieces.
Yeah,
Because, like, you had asked me off air, I was like, "Which watch should I wear?" I was like, "Wear the watch you want, that because that's a statement piece.
yeah,
That's gonna be a conversation starter." And guess what? That's a conversation. It follows his consciousness through
yeah.
the rest of his life.
So now the whole world knows that before we started doing this, I literally asked Brandon, "Which watch should I wear in
Yeah.
this podcast?"
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because
But that's the
let me
thing.
tell you something, as big guys, there's not a lot of accessory options that we're willing to participate in. But
Right.
I've told my daughters my whole life, I said, "You wanna know a guy? Look at his shoes, look at his watch." And if he pays attention to those 2 things, he pays attention to his life. So, what
I'm gonna add something into that because I'm gonna here's my PSA.
Brandon's got opinions.
I got opinions. Because I wanna say this too is, yes, but guess what? Pay attention to how he styles himself.
Mhm.
I could put on a hoodie, I could put on pants, I could tie my shoes.
Yeah.
But how I'm styling my look, how I'm selecting the right wash for this look, how I want it to appear,
But
that's more important.
that's 100% what we're talking about. So, before we drift too much in that
Yeah.
way, like, how do we accomplish this, right? Because all right, so, again, I'm a child of the '80s,
Yeah.
right? And, so do you remember the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield? Did you
I
ever
would
see
love that.
that?
He keeps using these references.
I understand them all, and Rodney Dangerfield, the way he grew to wealth and fame is he owned a store called Melon's Big and Fat,
Okay.
Tall and Fat,
Okay.
right? So, back in the day, right, when I was a young man and I was a little bigger,
Mhm,
and we went to well, this is Chicago, so we went to Sears,
mhm.
and Sears had a section for guys like me, and you know what they called that section? Husky.
And that term has not gone away, and I've
Listen
seen it
to me.
in I've seen it in an anchor store that we're not gonna say on air,
Yeah.
but this is because of word association to the
Mhm.
demographic of consumerism.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you're choosing your style,
Mhm.
that pardon my friends, that shit doesn't matter.
It did then.
It does then, but it's again, it's where the confidence gets killed.
Yeah.
It's where the confidence doesn't it goes into a cage. And I'm like, "No. Recognize that that is that size, that number, that whatever doesn't define you."
Wait, it gets worse.
It
And
listen,
I'll explain to you in a future podcast, I like to throw these out. We'll talk about the look on my dad's face when the salesman looked at him and says, "I think we need to go to Young Men's." And that's another
mhm,
topic for another day. Now, growing up a little bit,
mhm,
okay? And I was explaining this to somebody last night who's never heard this term, but you may have. So let's go back not that long in the past, let's say 30 years, which is some people's lifetimes, I suppose, but 30 years.
mhm,
And I wanted to buy a suit.
mhm.
The styles of suit were regular, slim, and there was a term that's no longer used called portly.
I'm sorry. I mean, granted, I've never heard that term.
Right. So those guys my age who are bigger or were in the apparel industry, if you were a larger guy, Roger, in the middle, the cut of suit was known as
Portland.
portly. There was no big and tall. It was portly. Okay. Now we are fortunate, everyone, to live in a time where the access to big and tall clothing has expanded. Now, I'm not going to say it's huge, but it has expanded.
I mean, brands are getting better and smarter about their consumer in store. They're
Mhm,
getting smarter about their consumer as far as this. But and I'm going to give some insight into some of these thought processes as a business. And, this comes from mass production and things like that. When you're building a collection or you're building a mass production for that kind of business, let's say that, and let's say you try to include everybody, and you say, okay, I'm going to go from small to 3x. Now, when I'm ordering, if I'm a brand and I'm developing a brand, I have to recognize that for me to go from this small to 3x, I now have to commit to the SKU required minimum order quantity from my manufacturer.
mhm,
If I'm a new brand and I'm starting up, and I've seen this a lot of times because we work with new brands, is that they sometimes make these sacrificial decisions to not be inclusive
mhm,
because of the cost. Now, I don't say that that's okay. I don't agree with it because fashion is made and great. Like my business partner is a technical engineer. So we know how, and it is available to make every size and every shape for every garment. It's not impossible, but in the forms of business and manufacturing and numbers and dollars and cents, some brands sacrifice that ability to go there and the technical expertise that's required to do that. Because once you do all that, it just takes more time and money. And of course, we go live in a massive consumerism thought process, and they make these sacrificial choices.
I'll tell you exactly why I think that that's correct is so somebody recently at work made a joke,
Mm.
right? They say, "Do big sizes cost more because they have to use more material? It's unfair that I have to pay for something you do if yours is twice the material." Now, they said this jokingly,
Yeah, they said this
okay?
jokingly.
Yeah, and then after I punched them in the face and they were laying on the ground, I'm
You
just
hand him a
kidding.
tissue and say, "Here's the truth behind your statement." But
So I actually once, and this is locally here, but many years ago, I went to a dry cleaner and the dry cleaner literally told me he was going to charge me more because it took him more time to iron my shirts.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, if you could show me where you give a discount to the smalls, I'll agree with you. And then I took my business elsewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
and because
That was just straight up prejudice. But here's where the fault is. I looked at this person. I go, what size shoe are you? And he told me, and it was a normal run size. I go, I'm a 13. They don't charge me anymore for being a 13. Why would they charge me anymore for being a
we actually get more
4X?
discounts with bigger feet because I always find my shoes in the clearance section. I'm a size 13.
Isn't that crazy?
It's great for me in some regards because I'm like, because that's the funny thing about that's the hard part about the production and the mass production side of our business and the whole world of consumerism, especially around apparel and branding
Mhm,
and just making clothes in a mass production type of thought process is because it's dollars and cents. It's minimum order quantities, and
mhm,
that's the crazy thing about it, which is why I wish and I even as my business has been trying to, and we worked with a client previously who did advocate for building a brand that was specifically for this market. But the hard part is until we start changing the reality behind saying fabric is fabric, it costs per yard.
mhm.
But the design elements of it shouldn't be penalizing somebody who is a
Yeah.
person of size.
Well, so I mean, it is unfortunately more expensive, right? And the reason it tends to
It's
be
more labor and
it,
da-da-da,
well,
sure.
the reason it tends to be more expensive is I think because there are fewer places we can get it. So I can't just walk into a Target and buy a new shirt, right? I have to look for it, plan it. So here's the difficulty, and here's how we fix it. Okay, there are places, there are stores that cater to big and tall.
Yes.
Not all of them fit you the same.
Mhm.
Not every brand that you purchase the same. Some of the more specific big and tall clothing lines
Yeah.
are better at sizing.
Yeah.
Some of the clothing lines that are designer names and they have bigger sizes don't always work the same at every size.
Correct.
So, we live in a world now where people do a lot of online shopping. Okay. So, online shopping is the hardest thing that we do because we don't know if that brand, that size works for us is the same as another. So, I would encourage everyone out there to, when you want to buy something new, try to go to a local retailer, try to put it on, try to see how that fits for you. And once you know that that works for you, and it doesn't matter to me if it's a pair of underwear, a t-shirt, a dress shirt, a pair of pants, doesn't matter. Then you could feel comfortable going online and buying repeats of that. But it's very difficult. Otherwise, you have to buy it multiple times and try it on.
So here's an addition to that, because it's not just the sizing of a person. It's the sizing of the garment. Because so
Oh,
think
100%.
so but
No, I don't want to give the impression that
no,
it's
no, I totally get that. But
they cut it differently and not everybody is cut the same.
correct. But that's our job in the world of technical design and fit and prototypes is to make sure, because like your points of measure is how we make your pattern. So I always say this: when you're shopping, like just like when you're shopping online and things like that, I always tell, even I told my sister, know your measurement,
Mhm.
because we've all seen it. When you're shopping online, you scroll down, you see the little image of the garment, and you see like a little measurement here and da da da. And then you'll look at the size chart, and you'll see like this range to this range. If you know your measurements and you fall between those as a technical designer, it is our job, well, their job, because I don't do it, to make sure the pattern or the fit or the prototype fits within that demographic. Otherwise, they've just lied. So
Mhm.
when you know your measurements, you've taken a lot of the guesswork out of it, because
Yeah.
I have to go through that.
Yeah. I don't know what my measurements
But
are. I
that's what,
I know what fits.
so there's the work. Sometimes
Yeah.
when you like, because my first job out of college, my first job in college, believe it or not, was at the Avenue. I worked at the
Mhm.
Ogilvy trading station in Chicago at the Avenue. It's no longer there,
Oh
but
my god, was that you?
that was me.
Okay, I'm
Yeah, I
just
saw you
kidding. I
underneath.
have no
Um,
idea.
it was there, and this is why for me, I'm glad you brought me on the show, because I was like, my first world or entry into retail and understanding look and fashion, and then also the psychology that kind of goes into how people see themselves, is I worked with plus size, and I hate that term, voluptuous women,
Mhm.
and I saw a lot more mentally about how they were like, I just need this, I just need to get in here and get this to fit, and I'm like, and the Avenue was a great company where they were putting all these types of silhouettes out there for women to feel fashionable, but people were just grabbing the thing. They're like, "Oh, that's my size. Oh, those are my
Well,
numbers."
because not everybody is the same shape.
True, but that's why I say silhouette. Silhouette is
Yeah.
a very big thing about shape.
Yeah.
I don't like shapes, because shapes are those are for that's for learning geometry and all the things that we put in for kids in front of them.
Okay,
Learn your
silhouettes.
silhouette, because if you know your silhouette, then you know what to put on. So I
Mhm.
would have these women and be like, "No, honey, just open the jean dress, make it a jacket, and then put on the dress, and then guess what? You got a layer, and then the look and the eye travel." There's all these things you have to learn, but I also had them see themselves differently,
Yeah.
because you belong.
So at the end of it all,
Yeah.
you need to trust. You need to trust when someone tells you, "Hey, that looks right." Trust it, feel it, own it.
Yes.
It's very hard to do. I understand it's very hard to do, but trust it, feel it, own it. Now,
I mean,
some
here's a tip. I would say this, and I'm going to challenge you to do this. The next time you go shopping, the first three things that grab your attention, grab them. Don't question it. Just grab them. Just grab the first three things. Don't do the whole thing that people
yeah.
before people. I don't,
Yeah, men don't shop that way, I'm gonna tell you that.
I make them.
Men
It's just
men go shopping when they need something,
men shop seasonally.
and they know what they're looking for.
Do they?
So, okay, so what's different about me, right? So, I I have been big a long time, and
Mhm,
I've been in a lot of different situations, and I don't at this point in my life, I don't hold back. I don't hold back from travel. I don't hold back from going places, right? The problem I find is that when I do those things,
mhm.
what happens if I have a wardrobe malfunction, right?
We all have
So,
those.
what happens if I'm going to a wedding overnight somewhere
Mhm,
and right as I'm getting dressed, I rip my shirt or like earlier that morning, or I tear my pants?
mhm.
Okay. The biggest problem for me is I can't just go, oh crap, let's go to Target and get another pair of pants,
Okay.
right?
I totally see that.
So I told Daniel this in my first episode. We were talking about my work uniform. I said, "Here's my secret. I found the style, a fit, and a fabric that works for me in work pants.
Mhm.
Right? They look good. I have several different colors. I have the entire set still, a second set in my closet packed." Because if something happens to one of those, I can't easily replace it because then I have to go to that specific store or I have to order from that specific retailer. And that takes time to get to me because I'm not going to do it that day.
And that comes and that gets and this is where like, when you're saying, like, "How do we get there? How do we do the work? How do we get started? How do we facilitate the realities of our situation?" You figured out the reality of your situation.
Mhm.
You know that it's not that I don't deserve clothes or good-looking clothes or nice-feeling clothes, but when I find my tribe in my closet, Imma keep my investment to that
And
choice.
this isn't just only if you're a big person. I
Correct.
think everybody has their quote unquote uniform. Everybody has their
Yeah.
style. The difference is it's not very easy for us to find it, replace it, or remake it on the fly like it is for a lot of other
I don't think
people.
any
And
apparel
just,
is unless it's
but you
mass-produced.
can make something work, right? Like it's hard for us to make it work, you
And
know?
the heart and the opportunity there is this,
Mhm,
just like any person, when you find and this is why I say style is different than fashion,
mhm.
because
I say fashion because it's a known word.
well,
I
because
agree with you.
and it's a safe word,
Yeah,
because it doesn't make you feel like you have to ostracize yourself into a different demographic of
yeah.
thought. Style is style. You
And
gotta
I
break it
and
down.
and I like saying it because the word fashion, like a lot of people like me, it freaks them out a little bit because fashion they feel is not made for them. So really style
Right.
is the
So,
better
which
word.
is why, and this is also about why style mentality is a lot stronger than being
Mhm,
fashionable
mhm.
because you recognize that I don't give a shit about what it is. Like, I always tell people this. I'm 41. So, in all of my years, and especially when I went into school for fashion design, and then when I went to all the world of apparel and development, even the brands that I would work with and talk to, and people who had luxury items, I've never owned one. I don't even own a Prada wallet. I don't own any luxury item, period.
You just need a better boyfriend.
No, I'm quite capable of not letting a sugar baby or a sugar daddy ever come into me and thinking that that's gonna get them into the cookie jar.
I'm playing,
No, I
obviously.
totally
I
get it.
just
But
yeah.
the funny thing is I recognize, but this is why I have always lived as a person who's stylish because I have never like I was like, I get more compliments on the things that I put on my body, how I paired them, how I styled them, how I presented them, and my confidence because there are some things that I failed at. There are some
What
style
what
fails,
a
some
what a
fashion
what a
fails I put on.
perfect segue
Yeah,
into how to wrap that up,
yeah,
because people my size, people big, a lot of times they just don't feel like they deserve it.
yeah,
And the truth is you do. You deserve it. You deserve every ounce of it. You deserve to feel like everyone else feels. You deserve to feel as good as you want to feel. You can accomplish that. You can accomplish that in the way you walk down the street. I've told my girls for years, you could see a very fit, pretty girl walking down the street, right? Dressed well. And you look at her, you're like, right? And then you can see a girl who's not that size. Maybe she's bigger. Maybe she's smaller. Maybe she's taller. Maybe she's shorter, but she walks and she has a look about her of confidence. And for some reason, you're drawn to them. And that's coming from the inside, not from the outside. I'm just saying, let the outside reflect how you feel on the inside. It's available to you. You just got to put a little effort into it. Don't fall into the norms, and you're going to be great.
right. Take this with you as with I would say this to your listeners and to the viewers. I would say this: make your frequency your fashion.
Yeah.
Like that's what's important.
Yes.
Like everything else about it can be solved, and there are solutions, and
Yeah.
there are pathways to a purpose about how you want to feel.
Yeah.
But make the frequency your fashion because that's what's going to be attractive.
Yeah.
That's what's going to really get people to be like, Where'd you get that from?
Yeah. 100%.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, people always like, "Brandon, you're a sty like, you're have you been a stylist and do you work with big people?" No, but what I do work with is everyday people who have these why I'm like, "Why are you so timid about this?"
Yeah.
Or I love those moments where I was like, "Okay, you've been terrified of this color this entire time, and now I've gotten you to see yourself
Mhm.
in this color, and then I watched it happen. I watched it happen up here." They're like, "I didn't know I could do this." Guess what? Because you deserve to.
Yeah.
So
100%.
that's what I think. So yeah, from now on, and I want you and I challenge you to say, from now on, frequency is my fashion. You already have all the tips. You already know what works and what doesn't, but keep the frequency and share that frequency with everyone else. The next person you see that you're like, you got a low frequency. Let's get that up. And then you take them shopping.
Just in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I was buying bathing suits.
Yeah.
That's another area,
No,
but
no, you were buying. No,
I've
this is
been
what
buying
it's that right there.
I've
You
been
were
buying
buying bathing
I
suits,
was buying
period.
bathing
Yeah.
suits that were solid,
Okay.
simple,
Sure.
right? And just in the last couple years, I've been buying ones that are, pink flamingos,
Do it.
because that's what the guys are wearing.
Do
Let's be
it.
honest, they're wearing fashionable bathing suits, right? I don't think I'm to a Speedo yet. I don't think the world needs
I'm
that.
never gonna wear a speedo.
Yeah, but, I've been doing that just a little bit more.
Right.
Okay. Brandon, you're awesome.
I mean, I
Okay.
try.
So I mentioned in the beginning that you had something or may have something you want to ask or say to me. So we're going to get off the topic a little bit. I hope, maybe not. Sometimes when I ask people this question, it goes lighter and funnier. And sometimes it just makes me real sad and introspective. But if you have anything to say, now be the time.
I think, and I've been listening and I was really and this has been a great opportunity for me to really be an advocate because you're not the only person I've seen and talked to and recognize that this is more than just about the threads. It's about your thoughts. It's
Hmm.
about how you think. And
Hmm.
I'm like, this is the crap that can really change because this is why I stayed in fact ever since I was 13, I knew I wanted to be in apparel and fashion and an artist and a creative.
Hmm.
I, as a person who was Black, gay, and living in areas where people just didn't get it,
Yeah.
I wasn't that kid. They were like,
Yeah.
"Brandon, why don't you got Jordans? Why don't you got the OPP jacket or the Jodeci Booth?" People who were in the '90s, y'all know what I'm talking about. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the Black kid who wore the grunge, but then I could put on a suit and look baller.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. But for me, I wanted to just be me. But being me took all these years. Like, I hated jeans. And then I found pants, hair and pants. And I was like, and I finally found something that I can be myself in. And people were so confused. And I was ostracized for it sometimes. But for you, I think the thing is this, and this show, this channel, this message, your authority around getting people to recognize that there is no label. It is just the limitations people give themselves of how they look.
Hmm.
And that's it. And I really think that you continue to show that. But I also want you to be that person to share saying, look, these are the pain points, but the purpose is going to change. That's what it is. I
Hmm.
think stay in that lane. And like I said, make the frequency your fashion. Stop listening to this crap. The magazines don't matter. The messages don't matter. It's your mentality. That's what matters. So the next time you go shopping, bring your mirror mentality with you.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping to gain. Like I said many times, I'm here to take the hits for you guys. I know a lot of these topics are things that you are afraid to ask somebody. You don't like even going into the store and saying, "Hey, this is what I'd like to look like. What do you have that works for that? What works for me?" And it's important that it works for you because it has to work for you, not only fit and style, but it has to work for your how you want to feel and how you want to look. You'll go into a store, they'll throw something at you, you look at it and you say, that's just not me. And that's okay if it's not just in you, but it's okay to expand a little bit outside the borders. I like to do a lot of my baseball analogies,
Yeah.
right?
You love a
So,
sports.
I love a sport. Well, I love a sports analogy, but I love baseball because I think baseball, the rules and the way the game is played is life.
Yeah.
But how does baseball apply to this conversation? Well, guess what? In baseball, what do they all wear? They all wear uniforms,
Okay.
right? And they all not only wear uniforms, but they all wear, with the exception of that sport where they kick the ball, soccer, right? So except for
You
soccer,
should be
because
punished.
I'm not a soccer fan. So
What's that? I
so so
extremely.
so well, it's not baseball. So in soccer, the goalie wears a different color uniform, right?
Yeah.
In volleyball, the team captain wears a different color uniform. In baseball, the only one who wears anything different is the catcher, and that's solely for protection,
Yeah.
right? But in baseball, they all wear the same uniform,
Okay.
right? Why do they do that? Because they're a team,
Yep.
okay? But if you look at them,
Mhm.
they do certain things to stand out individually now.
Yeah.
Now we live in a world where some guys wear the long pants, some guys wear the stirrups. You know, life is changing.
Right.
And you can even see it in a game like baseball,
Yeah.
right? You'll recognize the pitcher in the dugout because he'll wear a jacket. You know, you'll recognize the outfielders, right? Because they might wear the black under their eye because they have to worry about the sunshine,
Guess what?
you know?
And I'm gonna take because I love where this is going, but I feel like we're gonna cycle into the same thing that keeps people paralyzed. Is this? They all chose style. They didn't chose fashion uniformity. They all chose specific unifications of their individuality to be
Mhm.
present and the uniformity of their thought. So I'm gonna take your baseball analogy and revolve it into this new reality of saying, here's how you could be a mentalist for yourself. Three strikes and you're out. If you've tried on that garment and it's like, I've three, nope, it's out. Stop doing it.
Yeah,
And also, I tell this, and men and women, and I think guys who have girlfriends or guys who have to buy things for people, things like that, they should recognize that it's a three outfit rule.
yeah.
If your garment cannot facilitate three looks in your wardrobe, it's out.
Wow, that's fashion 2.0 right
Yeah.
there.
You save a lot more money because if you're out shopping, men, we don't do this, but women, and some men do this too.
Mhm.
You're out shopping, you're like, oh my God, I love this. If it does not make three looks in your current wardrobe without you having to buy the shoes, the watch, the belt, the this, put it down.
Yeah,
It's not an investment to your wardrobe.
I'm with you.
So
So
that's
here,
what there's my baseball analogy for
here,
you.
let
Run.
here, let me finish up on baseball.
Okay.
Okay. There is a place where baseball players stand out, and that's that every team has their logo, every team has their specific uniform, and some of those are iconic, right? So iconic, if you look out in the stands, half the guys my age are dressed like they want to come out and play the game,
Right.
right? They're dressed in uniform and hats, which I think is great. But did you know that the specific uniform being played that day is picked by one person?
Yeah.
It's picked by the starting pitcher. So
I
the
know.
starting pitcher, no, it's true. The starting pitcher within limits chooses what jersey, what pants the team is playing that day based on how he feels and what he likes,
That's
right?
fashion.
Which is, and that right there is
That's
fashion,
fashion.
right? And that's a guy who's standing up and saying, I'm pitching today. I'm in charge. This is what we're going to do. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you control your life. That's how he controls his moment in that day, you know? So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to our episode today or watching it on YouTube. Please continue to like, to follow on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully, I have somebody as wonderful as Brandon here. And Brandon, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, see you guys.
I